This is one of the most remarkable things I've ever seen. There's an old phrase. Comes from baseball, actually. I used to work in baseball. I worked for a team called the Tampa Yankees for years. Ran the scoreboard, ran the soundboard, did the radio for a couple of years, right? And they had a saying, but it goes throughout baseball. Every time you go to the park, you see something new. And baseball might be the only sport where that's true, because it literally is true. Every time you go to the park, there's something weird and new that happens. It's just the nature of the sport of baseball. But in football, that obviously happens a lot as well. This is something that, even though I consider myself not even an expert, a connoisseur of the weird and wonderful world of football, this is something I've never seen before. This is something that is remarkable, right? Because being injured and being able to contribute in a sport depends on the sport, right? There's a famous one in the NBA. It's Willis Reed, right? Willis Reed, he severely injured his leg, could barely walk, but he hobbled down the floor and hit a three, and he's a legend forever, right? But hobbling down the floor and then hitting 1 3-point jump shot is a hell of a lot different than scoring a fucking goal, right? Because there are not a lot of goals in a match. It's just a hell of a lot harder to get open to score a goal than it is to, get open to hit a 3-pointer. Right, so there are other famous tales of people persevering through injury, but maybe what makes this story the most special is that the guy wasn't even trying to persevere through the injury. So this happened in the Columbia Cup the Colombian League, not the Cup final. The Colombian League, basically, they play out the season, and you end up with what is essentially a playoff for the league title. So the two best teams over the course of what is a very long league process. And those two teams play a 2-leg final, right? And the winner of that 2-leg final takes the championship. It's not quite full American with like 8, 12-team playoffs, but it is a playoff for the league title that can create that sort of drama. The two teams in it are Independiente Medellin and Santa Fe. Those are the two teams that have managed to make it this year, and the first leg is 0-0, naturally. So second leg starts. Big goal from Francisco Frajewski, classic Colombian name. Then Santiago Mosquera equalizes before halftime. This, of course, leaves this goal, right? It's 1-1 at the half, and we're working towards Hugo Rodallega scoring in the 79th minute. The particularly wild thing, though, is that Hugo Rodallega is this guy. He's the 39-year-old captain of Santa Fe. In what might very well be his last match, leading his team in the league final, in the second leg. It's 1-1. It's in the second half. And he picks up, which I, as an armchair doctor, believe to be, is some sort of groin injury. You'll see at some point in this video that that's where he's reaching, but a bad one. I'm talking about like a tear. I mean, the sort of injury that you aren't even hoping to be able to play through. This isn't a strain. This isn't a rolled ankle. This isn't a migraine. Right? This is something where your body physically cannot do the things you need it to do without risking much more severe damage. Okay? And you see that because Hugo Rodallega is crying, right? He is breaking down because he realizes he is not going to be able to continue playing. To the point that he is now, bringing his shirt up over his eyes. And you see the sportsmanship here. You got the guys in the other team are coming up to him, like asking for the sub, being like, look, unfortunately, this guy's going to have to come off because he's just not going to be able to play anymore. And as you fast forward through this situation, you see really like heartbreaking stuff. You see the ref pop in at a certain point. That was the referee that came in like, hey, you need a sub. And he's nodding. Yes, I need a sub. The only problem is that these guys over here, they're not in on the joke. Right? Because Hugo Rodallega is not on the ground. He is standing. He's hobbled. He can barely move, but he is standing. And so if you are back here in the goal, right, getting your water, it's a water break, it's hot as hell in South America, right? You don't know that this is happening. You don't know that the refs and the coaching staff are trying to organize a substitution, and the only reason the ball's not in play is because these guys are taking a drink of water before they take this goal kick. So these guys step up to the ball and just put the ball back in play. And who's still on the field? Hugo Rodallega, The 39-year-old who can barely move, who just talked to his teammates, the other team, and the ref about being subbed off. This is just a miscommunication, right? The substitution had not been formally prepared, and unbeknownst to everybody, the people on Hugo Rodayega's own team didn't seem to know what was going on. And so they just take the goal kick, and the ball is back in play. Again, 1-1, 79th minute. It is headed on to Hugo Rodallega, who takes a touch, manages to move, and can't even put weight on his right leg after playing a ball out wide. Who knows what's going through the mind of this guy who just out of reflex headed the ball to the guy that cannot move. But once the ball is played out wide, the guy that picks it up actually makes a really good run at the defense. And Rodallega just limps his way in, sensing an opportunity. Right? If you have this type of injury, you basically have one more good jog left in you. This reminds me of one other sporting instance, and I got to go into the American sports catalog again. Tampa Bay Lightning, my NHL team. I'm a diehard fan, always have been. We won the championship, right, against the Dallas Stars a couple of years ago. So the finals of the hockey playoff, our captain had a partial tear of his abdominal muscles. He came in the finals for one shift, named Steven Stamkos. In that one shift, he took a shot. He scored it. And the act of taking that shot tore the rest of his abdominal muscles, and then he had a complete ab tear. He said it was worth it. It was worth it. That goal helped us obviously win the championship, but that's what this reminds me of. Even when you are faced with extreme pain, the type of pain where you think that your game is over without even questioning, even when you have the type of heart to be able to do this, but because you don't think you can contribute to your team because you can barely move, he finds that one last jog. He sees the guy putting the run together, and he just gets a few steps, and what do you know? The pass finds him. And with his injured leg, the groin on this side, he fires the ball into the back of the net, thus injuring him more. I mean, you want to talk about sacrificing for your team, kicking the ball with this kind of power, right, has no doubt injured him more. In the celebration, he can't even put weight on his leg at all. He's celebrating, hopping away on one leg, but you know what? You already saw the score. This goal won them the league. The 39-year-old captain doing what you would hope every captain would do for their team, laying down their life a little bit to go get the goal. But it actually kind of worked in their favor because you can see the defense completely ignore him. Right? The defense was there. Rodallega is a forward. When he was talking about being subbed off, when he was crying in pain and in sadness, they were there. They knew this guy was severely injured. And so they ignore him. They're not paying attention to him at all. They don't even look in his direction. Nobody's paying attention to him. The weirdest part about this entire play is that the only reason Hugo Rodallega was able to score this goal is because Santa Fe was accidentally playing 4D chess. The other team didn't think Rodallega was going to be able to get to that spot. Didn't even worry about marking him because they thought he was virtually immobile. And he was. Almost. But he did get to the spot. And he did score the goal. And he produces one of the iconic images that maybe I've ever seen. To see your captain just kind of limping away, and then he just lays down. He can't hop anymore. No doubt his race is run. His match is done. You got to go fish out another substitute. This was on the road, by the way. As you could probably see with the fans in the background just in disbelief at what had just happened. Now, obviously, kind of like the guys that took the goal kick, you don't know if all of the fans of the match were actually aware of how fucking absurd what just happened actually was. But this is insane. It's a perfect storm of different things. You've got the guy taking the goal kick that doesn't realize that the player's supposed to be subbed off. You've got the defense that thinks the guy's immobile when he finds one last gear, tears the rest of his groin, and scores the goal with it anyways. You even have the winger who makes a spectacular run and delivers a perfect cross. Because let's be honest, If this cross is 3 feet farther in front of him or 3 feet behind him, like a normal cross that requires some adjustment, fat chance this guy can do any sort of adjustment at all. This ball has to be right to him. And it all worked out. To be perfectly honest, if I'm a Santa Fe, fan, there needs to be a limping statue of this guy outside the stadium before the start of next season. I'm naming my 3, your first 2 children are Hugo and then Rodallega, which is a sick first name. This is legendary stuff forever. Even beyond where I hold Steven Stamkos at, tearing his abdominal muscles to give us 1 goal. This was the winning goal on the road. It doesn't get more heroic, unexpected, and amazing than this. So enjoy. Hugo Rodallega, one for the ages.